Hello everyone, Nougat here, and welcome to another match of Littlewargame. Today I am bringing you a match played on Ravaged between WeirdRat in the top left and DESTROYcall in the bottom right, playing the blue pieces. As we can see, we're starting the match about 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Basically the reason why I do that is so that we don't have that long kind of just waiting around to see what these players build into. But we do see that WeirdRat is going for a mech opening, getting these Gatling guns, having this worker available to repair the Gatling gun if needed. And then DESTROYcall does go for his signature wolf opening at this point. DC is pretty well known for his beast opening, especially this wolf harassment that happens at the beginning of the game. It's very good. It's very good to see, very good to play against. As a follow-up, we do see that second Gatling gun coming out and an advanced workshop for WeirdRat. Looks like when he finishes his castle, he definitely wants to go into some harassment potentially with getting catapults from his workshop here, and then eventually getting an airship from his advanced workshop, dropping into his opponent's main base, and doing some damage that way. At the same time, we do see that DC has stayed on one den, so this is more of an economic opening, and it's allowing DC to get his tech just a little bit early. In case I haven't mentioned it yet, this is a live game, so the players, as I'm spectating about it, the players are currently playing, and sometimes we'll see potentially some lag. It's funny that I mention that, because right as I mention it, I start lagging out a little bit, so I can't jinx it too much, or else I might make the game lag out a little bit too much. We do see that these Gatling guns are putting in some work to pull away DC's wolves. At the same time, we do see that DC is starting to get this airship. I'm very curious to see if DESTROYcall decides to do a wolf drop or potentially something else. Let me quickly ask. I might have asked if I need to leave. If I start lagging out too much, I'll potentially leave, and then I'll get the replay a different way, or maybe do a different replay altogether. But we'll see. Hopefully, it doesn't lag out too much anymore, and then these players are able to play the game that they need to play. We do see that the Gatling gun upgrade, I don't know what it's called, but this is the upgrade that lets these Gatling guns spend their purple energy in order to lay caltrops. And caltrops serve as kind of like this I guess like tripwire, that whenever units trip over the caltrops, they get slowed for, I believe, 5 seconds now. It may have been 7. And then it got nerfed to 5. It may be higher or lower, I'm not quite sure. But both of these players going for a similar drop idea. DC going for wolf drops, while looks like WeirdRat is going for this ballista drop. I wonder if they were able to see each other. It looks like they were not able to see each other, even though they did pass by each other, which is very interesting to see that happen. Something that's also really interesting about this is the fact that WeirdRat did not put the Gatling guns inside the airship. Instead, he decided to keep them out of the airship so that they could potentially do some damage. While this is all going on, WeirdRat is having to pull his workers back to his expand, and now he's got these workers versus these wolves that he has to deal with. And wolves do a lot of damage to workers. Workers do 8 damage. You know, they have that 8 damage, and wolves do 10 damage. So it's not the worst matchup, but you typically want your workers to be mining the gold rather than fighting wolves, if you can help that. At the same time, we do see that WeirdRat on the other side of the map starting to put some pressure on his opponent. Definitely does not want his opponent to finish this watchtower if possible, because that will absolutely put an end to this this harassment and force WeirdRat to go back home. And that means that WeirdRat's going to really have to have an answer to this wolf drop that's been going on at the same time. At the same time, we do see that both WeirdRat and DC are going for their third base. DC putting his third base in a location that's a little bit more deceptive. Someone has to really scout out this area to see if there's a base here or not, while WeirdRat is in a more open position, I would say, more of a defensible position if he has units in this area. At the same time, we do see that the wolves are starting to be cleared out, but let's take a look at how many units we've lost, if that's possible. We'll take a look at the difference of workers for the moment. WeirdRat does have 17 workers, while DC has 26. And then we can take a look at the income. We can absolutely see that WeirdRat is basically mining at half the gold his opponent is mining at, and you can definitely see that in the total amount of resources that's been mined. DC mining about 1,000 more resources than his opponent at the moment, and that's going to be very interesting, especially as WeirdRat might start to feel a little bit more broke or a little bit more needy for resources. Very interesting call from DC to continue to grow his economic advantage through this fourth base, rather than going for maybe like a kill shot, especially with this exposed third base and very, very little army that WeirdRat has. He's basically been forced to produce nothing but workers for feels like the last minute, I'd say. And yeah, it's very interesting to see how this is gonna go. Definitely feels like WeirdRat is going to kind of stall out, unless DC can give him the space to get back in the game. And it looks like that's what's going on. It looks like DC is giving WeirdRat the space to get back in the game. He's letting WeirdRat start to mine with more workers. Let's take a look at that units tab again, and we do see that WeirdRat is now at 26 workers. DC is at 35, so I think I remember talking to DC at one point, and he kind of shared what his ideal worker count is, and I believe his ideal worker count is 40 total workers with 10 mining each base, and 10 workers is probably what you're aiming for. More than 10 is, it's all right. I think more than 10 still gets you more money, but I think 10 is like right where you want to be in terms of efficiency per worker. At the same time, let's take a look at the supply count. So DC is at about 90 supply. WeirdRat is at 60. So we're gonna take a look at that. We're gonna keep track of that, especially as the game goes on. It does look like WeirdRat is starting to go for these 2 additional workshops, and at the same time, I wonder how the scouting is going. That's exactly what I wanted to see, actually. WeirdRat, famous for this bird. It's a good unit to have. Looks like it's about to be countered by that ballista. My goodness, that was quite the counter to the bird. But the bird is really good for being able to scout out a player's base and kind of just see what they're going for. It's a pretty small unit, means that it has a small target ratio, I guess, or a targeting surface. Doesn't mean that it's harder to hit. It just means that it's you have to be closer to it in order to start hitting it. We do see that DC is starting to go for these dragons. At the same time, DC is able to respond to any drops with these 2 ballista that are inside of the airship here, and WeirdRat definitely has to turn tail in order to kind of not get too destroyed by these ballista here. DC might chase this guy actually. Chase that airship so that he loses the airship. So WeirdRat has to be very careful with this airship so that he doesn't lose the catapults that are inside. Yeah, WeirdRat definitely does not want to lose the catapults that are inside, especially if DC decided to dive onto that airship. He is able to kind of hide it. You can just barely see it on the top of the screen. The reason for that is because you have this area down here that you can put air units, and it also exists up here. It's a mirrored map. It's just that the way that the camera is situated, it's very hard to see what's up here exactly. So it kind of looks like they've stabilized. WeirdRat's on about 40 workers. DC's on about 50, with 5 base going up. So DC's more. His desire is to kind of mine out the map, it looks like, and continue his advantage through just mining more resources, and that's a good idea. WeirdRat definitely putting some pressure on by having this catapult drop kill a lot of workers. That was a lot of workers that just went down. I didn't see exactly how many, but kind of looked like maybe 6, maybe 7 workers just died. And then if we look at the supply difference, WeirdRat is now at 100 supply, while DC is at 140, just about 140. Very curious to see. WeirdRat is building 2 more houses, making sure that he's not going to stay supply blocked and able to grow out of that kind of position that he's in. And this is one of the benefits of playing mech, actually. Mech is very good in playing a defensive position. These catapults are very hard to approach. At the same time, in the late game, having a catapult heavy army is very strong and very difficult to deal with. It's able to annihilate just most any army that approaches it. Obviously, it does have a weakness to things like dragons, especially, we see that DC is starting to build these dragons. So most of the most important play that we see between these 2 players is how they use their ballista to reflect or to deflect specifically these dragons, keep them away from the catapults. We do see that wolves are still on the map. At the same time, we're seeing about, I think I see 3 werewolf dens being produced right over in this area. Might be more. Looks like just 3. And these werewolf dens are going to start producing werewolves whenever that time does come. At the same time, we're seeing that WeirdRat did go for this catapult drop. He was forced to ditch the catapults though, especially as the dragons and the watchtower were able to destroy that airship. Something that I really like about DC's position is that he has a lot of static defense, these watchtowers all over the place, to make sure that his position is really solid. And it looks like WeirdRat is starting to move on the other side of the map. I really want to see if WeirdRat has the air defense to deal with his opponent's dragon count. Oh, at the same time, this might actually be an all-in. WeirdRat did pull a lot of workers. I think he may have pulled probably looks like maybe 7 workers. So 7 workers in this ball, whose use is to just repair units, especially as they move forward. I do want to see more ballista with this army, especially as we do see about 6 dragons here. 6 dragons could be a very interesting matchup into these catapults. At the same time, we do see that DESTROYcall is moving these ballista up. And at the same time, the funny thing about these catapults is that they can do they can target, well, they simply do damage in an area. That means that they can target their own units technically, as they can do damage to their own units. So WeirdRat has to be very careful about how he plays that. Very interesting to see how kind of DC allowed WeirdRat to build up to this position. Very curious to see if WeirdRat also has those ballista upgrades that let you do damage in a clumped up area, and it looks like he does. These werewolves are coming up. These catapults are basically not really able to do anything while they are getting targeted down by these dragons. It's up to these ballista. It's up to these ballista to basically just destroy these dragons and then try to push for a win here. We do see that a little bit of lag is coming out. A lot of stuff is happening. DC is having to micro his units around. WeirdRat is having to make sure that his army does approach. It looks like those guys are just standing still. WeirdRat needs to make sure that these units do approach so that they can do some damage to these dragons. I really hope he sees that that's going on, and he does start moving his reinforcements forward. It'd be very unfortunate if that was not the case, because if these 2 ballista die at any point, that means that this whole army dies, and this whole army already is at risk. We can definitely see that the dragons are just starting to do a lot of damage to these werewolves. So he really needs, or these catapults specifically, sorry. So we do need to see that these army units are moving forward. And again, this ballista is not moving forward. Oh no! That could be a huge and crucial mistake. Especially if these ballista would have been able to do maybe even more damage to this army. Those ballista do finally get moved up. A lot of army is in the middle of the map for WeirdRat, but at the same time, DC has not been able to stop this push from happening. We can see that his army supply, or his total supply, is about at 100. I think 50 of that supply is in workers right now. Yeah, about 50 of it, so 45 right now. And WeirdRat is currently at 144. And still, despite the fact that WeirdRat was so far behind in this game, especially with how he was on 30 supply while his opponent was on 50, still WeirdRat was able to win this game, and man, just pull it back from the end. This is just one of the benefits of mech, it looks like. The fact that they're able to turtle up, get a bunch of catapults, get a lot of ballista, and basically destroy whatever army they go up against. It's very strong. It's a very strong unit composition. Obviously, if WeirdRat had some mages, he probably could have had an even better time with that slowing field, getting better hits on target with these catapults as well. We do see that WeirdRat has now destroyed the second base, and both players have called GG about twice now, but now they're kind of just talking about the game, kind of mulling it over, just making sure that they're talking about their strategy. And it does look like they're talking about how many dens DC had, and looks like they're both talking about how they should have had more wolf dens here on this side of the map, so that DC could have replenished his army at a faster rate, while WeirdRat has 6 production facilities or buildings that let him build into the army that he needed. And as a result, we do see that WeirdRat has won the game Good game, WeirdRat. Well played by both of these players. DC played an extremely good early game that I think should have let him win. He played really well against the opening that WeirdRat had, into that mech opening that WeirdRat had. And it looked like DC was going to win for a while, especially with that wolf drop. But it looks like WeirdRat was able to pull it together, able to hold his ground up until the final moment where he was able to push across the map and win the game. Awesome. Fantastic game. Let me just make a quick announcement, and then I'll just finish the video right after that. Oh, my door is being loud. On May 24th, Littlewargame is having a tournament, and the link to the tournament, I'm just going to leave it in the description, but yeah, like I said, square root of 0? I forget what his username is, but he's hosting a tournament, and it's going to be on May the 28th. It's going to be throughout the day. It's going to have best of 3s, best of 5s, and I'm planning to cover that tournament and make a lot of content around that tournament, see how these players are playing against each other. And if you're interested in playing this game or playing in that tournament, I'll leave a link in the description to the tournament that you can click on and sign up for, and then I'll leave a link to the game if you're interested in playing the game and learning more about the game. You can just click on that link and that'll take you there. All right, I'll see you guys in the next video, and yeah, and have a good day.